Hi everyone, Heather here. And a few months ago, I got my driver's license. So it actually took me years to finally decide that I was ready to try to get my driver's license. And I was just, I was nervous about the thought because I mean, first of all, let's face it, people on the road can get a little crazy. I've also heard this myth that autistic people can't drive, and I believed that for the longest time, but I shouldn't believe that lie. It's just a lie. And I've believed in Jesus my whole life, and I know that with him all things are possible, so even an autistic person getting a driver's license. So at 16 years old, the common age to get your license is 16. I was not ready at 16. 17, 18, not ready. Definitely not ready. At 19 years old, I started using public transportation to go to this year-long program that helps with job skills called Project Search. I brought it up in another video before, and that's basically what they do. They just help you. It's one close by where I live here in North Carolina, and it helps you prepare for job and life skills. And it helps people with special needs to do that. And I was taking a transit bus to do that, and let me set the scene for you. I live in a small town, and when you live in a small one-horse town, public transportation is a joke. It wasn't long before I'm like, okay, I've had enough. Because I remember this one time, they were literally an hour late picking me up. An hour late. And I finally had to call them, and they're like, oh, we forgot to put you on the schedule. I'm sorry. I'm just like, ah. That was really the moment. I'm just like, okay, enough is enough. I need to get my license. And I just got tired of that. I got tired of having to look for rides anytime I wanted to go somewhere or had a job. I could barely manage a job because I couldn't keep because I didn't have a license, and there were times when I couldn't find a ride. I'm ready to try getting my license, but then there's so many setbacks. So, first setback, the pandemic hits. Nobody's doing driving tests. The DMV is not giving driving tests because we're on lockdown. Then my brother dies of cancer. I'm going to share his story one day, but he battled cancer many, many times and then passed away. And then the next year, things were finally starting to open back up, but I still couldn't get my permit. And then the year after that, my dad passed away. My mom and I went through this awful season where my brother and my dad died almost 2 years apart from each other. It was about a year and a half, basically. So 2 weeks before my 23rd birthday, that's when I finally got my learner's permit. Because they're finally giving driving tests, they're finally doing these kinds of things at the DMV. Everything is finally open back up at this point, so all good. I had a lot of people help me learn how to drive. My mom helped me, my grandpa did, and then the driving instructor at the high school here in town, I actually graduated, which is where I graduated. They had driving instructors that were actually willing to work with me. That they were very patient. The one that they had when I was in high school, he was so impatient, and it takes patience to teach people how to drive. So, let alone someone with autism. So, I really needed somebody patient to teach me, and finally, I had a driving instructor that was willing to do that. It was 2 driving instructors, and they were really, really patient, really, really sweet. One of them I follow on Instagram. Her name is Melinda, and she's very sweet. I just felt relieved that I had some really nice and patient people teaching me how to drive. And my grandpa is one of the most patient people you'll ever meet. You'd have to get him super mad to actually yell at you. And it takes a lot for him to be that mad. So he's a very patient person. It took me some time to actually go to the DMV to take the test, to take the road test. It was very difficult to find the time to do that. It took me some time to finally be ready. It took me a little bit longer to learn. But yeah, it actually wound up taking so long that I wound up having to renew my learner's permit. That's how long it took. When I kept trying to plan the road test, there were just so many setbacks. We had bad weather that would get in the way. We had scheduling conflicts. There was even a time when my car broke down. The car that I was learning how to drive in and is now my car, it broke down. I was really worried that we were going to have to buy a new one. Also, at the time the car broke down, we were waiting to hear back from the driving school because I needed an extra session with them. So we were waiting to hear back from them. And then if you're new to my channel, there's this place that I sing karaoke at called Sunny's Music Lounge. I'm actually going there today. And they were getting remodeled and they were closed because of that. And I was just anxious to go back. I missed it so much. I was anxious to go back and see everybody again. And on top of that, my car was in the shop. And it wound up being in the shop for 2 weeks because without an appointment, they can't look at it if they're backed up. And I complained so much for a while, but I remember finally one night just praying about it. And then the very next day, get this, my mom came home from work, and to my surprise, my fixed car was sitting in the driveway, ready for me to drive. I have never taken the keys from her hands so fast. Just ready to get back behind the wheel. And not only that, but I was driving us to go get dinner, okay? And on the way there, Mom told me that she finally heard back from the driving instructor and got a text from the owner of Sunny's that it was remodeled, that it was finished with the remodeling and we could go back. We could go that day. And that was God. I loved it. It was awesome. Just all of that at once. God even cares about the little things. He knew I was missing Sunny's and we got to go back. I should also point out that even though it's called Sunny's Music Lounge, it is owned by Christians. It's not a bar. And it's a wonderful place. We actually have worship nights on Thursdays. And it's just such a great place. So finally, my mom scheduled an appointment with the DMV. We were actually just gonna do like go in, wait in line and do it. But my mom finally decided, okay, you know what? Let's schedule an appointment. Finally, we were able to settle on a date to take the test. And I was so ready at that point. The day of my test was Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. And at that point, my grandpa was the main person helping me because my mom got really busy. She's an accountant, so January through April is her busiest time. So she was starting to get really busy. So throughout January and the beginning of February, it was my grandpa that was taking me driving. Something really cool happened the day before the test, and I actually recorded it that night. I decided to document it because I didn't want to forget it. So here's a video where I talk about that. Hey everybody, I'm recording this the night before I take my driver's test. Whoa. I have been waiting for this day. I'm excited and I'm very nervous at the same time, so I have no idea if I should compare this night to Christmas Eve or like exam week in high school. Maybe a little bit of both, because I've really been looking forward to having my license, but at the same time I wish I didn't have to take a test to do it, because test has always been a scary word for me. But something really cool actually happened earlier today. Something really cool. So I was practicing driving for the last time. It feels weird saying that. I was practicing driving for the last time with my grandpa, and while I was driving, right in front of me, I see this dove. It was so cool. I saw this dove right in front of me. Guys, what were the chances of any kind of bird, let alone a dove, being in front of me? I'm recording this in February. I live in North Carolina. It's cold right now. And a dove just flies right in front of me. That had to have been a God thing. I mean, I can't explain what else it could have been. For a split second, I see that dove, and then I look down, and then I'm slowing down because a truck. It's not like right in front of me. It's just like it's like in a distance to where I need to slow down because he's pulling out. You know, he's at a safe distance, so I don't have to like slam on the brakes. But like I had to slow down because he was pulling out. But anyway, So I look up and see that dove, look down and see that truck. I look back up, the dove's gone. And I tell my grandpa, and he's like, well, that's neat. And I'm like, you didn't see that? It wasn't that he didn't believe me, it was just he didn't see it. And I'm like, you didn't see that? He goes, no. And then I told my mom tonight, and she said, well, maybe that was just for your eyes. And I think she was right. I think that was supposed to be a sign from God that everything's gonna be okay. And it kind of made me think of Gideon in the Bible, where the night he was gonna fight the Midianites, how God told him, in case you're still afraid, here's something that'll help so you won't be afraid anymore. And it was as if to tell Gideon, hey, I gotcha. And this will be a sign that I gotcha. And then he goes down to the Midianite camp and overhears a Midianite saying that he had a dream that the Midianites were going to be defeated tonight. Well, I mean, that's what the dream meant, but yeah, I just think that was really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna chill for a bit before I go to bed. And the next time you see me, I'm gonna have my license. I can't believe it. So as you can imagine, the night before, I did not sleep very well. I tried to sleep as well as I could because, I'm gonna be driving in the morning. I gotta get my sleep. And the next morning, I woke up remembering, oh my gosh, I have a driving test today. I'm so nervous. What am I gonna do? Okay. And then as I'm eating breakfast, I look out the window and I'm devastated because what I see out the window is snow coming down. That's right, snow. I live in the mountains in North Carolina. We're gonna have snow at times. And it just so happened that morning in February, there was snow pouring down. This was serious. And let's just say I didn't handle it very well. Okay, to say I was really, really mad was an understatement. I mean, after all that work I put in practicing driving and all these setbacks, finally we settle on a date and we wake up and it's snowing that morning. And I'm just like, really? Oh my gosh, I was so mad. And I was worried that we were gonna have to reschedule. And if we rescheduled, then it would probably take months, because usually that happens when you schedule something with the DMV. They have so many appointments already that you have to make the appointment months in advance. So yeah, that was wonderful. I thought for sure that I was going to have to do that again. Mom and I went over to drove over to the DMV anyways, just to see what they would say. And well, I let Mom drive because first of all, I was too upset to drive. I was in no condition to drive. And second of all, I figured she's going to be chauffeuring me around forever anyways. Might as well just get used to it. That was basically my mindset. Like every time I try to plan it, there's always some sort of setback, so I might as well just not even try anymore. And my mom, who raised me in church, since she wasn't raised in church, she made sure to raise me and my brother in church, and she did. And she did that. She did a fabulous job with us. And she kept encouraging me, trust in God's timing. And honestly, at that time, that was the last thing I wanted to hear, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. And sometimes what you want to hear and what you need to hear are two very, very different things. So the good news about the snow is that it wasn't layering. So it wasn't totally dangerous to drive in it, but they still didn't feel good about doing tests at that time. And they were expecting it to calm down a little bit that afternoon. So the person giving the tests, he told me to come back at 1 p.m. And so I took that time to calm down, and I literally did every single thing that is just so comforting. I had some leftovers of my favorite home-cooked meal, the chicken casserole I mentioned in one of my YouTube shorts. I had some of that left over in my fridge, so I ate it for lunch. I had some ice cream for dessert. I watched one of my favorite shows, Carl the Collector, which one day I will make a video about. Anyway, so yeah, eating my favorite meal, eating my favorite ice cream, taking a nap, watching one of my favorite cartoons. What could be more comforting? It made me feel a little bit better But what made me feel a lot better was finally taking some time to talk to God about about how I was feeling, about how frustrated I was. And then I started having some peace that, you know what, maybe it is possible that I can get my license today. And even if I don't, like my mom said, God's timing is always perfect. And maybe he had a better day in mind for me to take the test. And an hour before the test, I look out the window. No snow. The snow stopped. There's no snow on the ground. Praise God. He cleared the road so I could take my test. Then at 1 o'clock, my grandpa came over. My mom was at work, so my grandpa came over, took me to the DMV. And since I had made an appointment beforehand, the guy that gave me the test, I can't remember his name to save me, but even though there were so many people there, he graciously squeezed me in. He just let me go first after he came back from his lunch break because I'd made the appointment. So he's just like, let's do this. Actually, he didn't say it with that much enthusiasm. There's no way. I mean, what is up with people at the DMV? Is it in their job description to act like they have no personality? What is up with that? I don't get it. Anyway, I finally took the test and I passed. I finally did it. And then I walk into the lobby. There's all the people waiting their turn. They all knew already that I was taking my road test. And I told everybody, I passed! And they were all so happy for me. The entire room clapped. It was so sweet. It was the sweetest thing. The first place I drove to was actually our local park. And people can go there to walk or play baseball. There's even a pickleball area. I thought about getting into pickleball sometime, but anyway, that's not my point. I have ADD too, so if I get off topic, that's why. Hashtag ADD life. But yeah, that was the very first place I ever drove to on my own. And I was pretty nervous. The route I go, you pass by Sunny's to get there. And I was actually I actually pulled in there for a moment just to calm myself down. I'm like, okay. I even remember getting in the car for the very first time. And before cranking it, just being like, maybe I'm not ready for this. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? There's got to be a first time. I've got to take that first drive by myself. And then I'll just keep doing it little by little. And then eventually I'll just be able to do it like clockwork, which is basically what I do now. And then when I got home, I texted my mom that I was back. I wanted to let her know that I was back. At that point, we didn't have Life 360 yet. We have it now so that we can keep up with each other, but then we didn't have it yet. So I texted her, I'm home, and she texted me, how did it feel to have your first outing by yourself? And the only word that popped into my head was amazing. So I text back, amazing, with a happy face emoji. I spent the rest of that afternoon texting so many people that I did it. I got my license. I got it. I did it. And then I posted on Instagram so that more people knew. And then it was Wednesday, so that night at church I told my pastor, and he's like, "Praise God, I'm proud of you, Heather." And that was really great. He's such a great pastor. The next day, Thursday, I actually didn't do any driving because there was some snow the night before, and we wound up having ice on the roads. So I just felt it was wise to take the day off. My car is a 2003 Ford Focus, so it's a little old-fashioned. It has a CD player. It doesn't have Sirius XM. It doesn't have a backup camera, but it does have a CD player, which definitely brings me back to when I was a kid, because I'm a 2000s kid. So CDs were the thing to have before MP3 players and iPods came out. So yeah, CDs have always been and will always be cool to me since I'm a 2000s kid. And I'm glad that I get to listen to CDs in my car. I love it. And my mom told me that when I got my license, more things would start opening up, and I've noticed that. I can do volunteer work at Sunny's. I have a part-time job now at a grocery store, and I can do my own grocery shopping now. It's awesome. And so that's the story of how I got my license. So I hope that story encouraged you and it showed you that God can make anything happen. His timing is always perfect. And don't forget, he's always working behind the scenes, even when you don't see it. You know that song, Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. It's true. So thank you guys for watching this. Subscribe for more videos like this one. If you like this video, hit the like button. That is what it's for. And I hope you'll leave a comment. I like reading your comments. Just be nice, okay? I will see you guys next time, and remember, you were born on purpose for a purpose, and you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.